Okay, we're back on the Bar Stories Project, guys. Welcome back, everybody out there tuning in. And today we have a special guest, Jessica Dipmore, First Lieutenant United States Army, JAG Corps, and my law school classmate. Haven't seen you in a while. Welcome, Jessica, to the Bar Stories Project.
Thanks, yo.
All right, so we're gonna get right into it. We don't like to waste time on this show.
Okay, should I just tell you how I did it?
Well, it'll be like me doing a direct examination. I'll guide the questioning. So think back to July 2019. We took the bar exam. Most people in our class, I'd say, took it that year in July. And we were law school graduates. I remember some days studying in the library and you were there doing your studying, and we didn't get the ideal results that we would have wanted that day. But, we'll talk about eventually how you ended up getting your New Mexico license. But tell us about the day in October when the results came out.
When I took the bar, I remember taking it and thinking, damn, I probably just passed in New Mexico. And then the bar results came out for Arizona, because I signed up for Arizona's, but I had it in my head for a while, I'm gonna work for the feds. I have a dope fellowship lined up. If I only pass in New Mexico, that's fine. Which I know totally sounds like a cop out a little bit, and it was it is a cop out, but also it's true. I didn't need to push myself as much as the other person, and I can't be fake competitive. If I know I don't have a reason to be number one, then I'm not gonna do it. That's just not my personality. So yeah, I remember though getting the Arizona results and not seeing my name on it, and I was like, oh crap, I probably failed New Mexico's too. And then I get the letter, I open my score and I'm like, I did it.
Yeah, so
no wasted effort.
Right. So yeah, I think you made a great point that not everybody with the uniform bar standards, if you want to do a federal job like JAG, like what you're doing now, or work for the federal government, a lot of times you just need a license. So
yeah,
you can take the bar in any uniform state like Arizona and then still sort of blaze a path to licensing, even though you didn't pass in the jurisdiction that you took the bar in. So you didn't get the results for I would say a couple of days or a week or more.
Yeah, I think it was 4 days or something.
Yeah, I remember that feeling of looking at the results and not seeing my name on the pass list.
Yeah, it was totally a crappy feeling. I felt like a letdown. To be fair, though, I don't think I even cried about it, because it was I was so mentally prepared for it, because when I took the bar exam, I was I feel pretty good about it, and that's a bad sign, because every time I feel good about a test, I usually do bad. It was definitely a bummer, but for me, I also just know my study habits are so bad. I wasn't at peak performance.
Right.
And
well, I think that's a good point, because
not a good test taker.
Yeah.
So when I even heard before law school and I heard the bar exam was a thing, it's a 2-day or 3-day test that's multiple choice and written. I remember hearing about it and thinking about it and being I'm gonna have to take that twice. Just I'm a slow learner. That's how I operate.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I think we talk about a lot on the show. I think you and I were similar in our in how we were students. We definitely liked learning. We gave it our best, but we were also our own individual, and we weren't trying to be the best. You know what I mean? So the bar exam was gonna be an uphill battle for us, because we weren't in the top 10%, and we weren't those super highly competitive students.
And I think a lot of people who passed the first time and they did a really good job, and I just want to say I admire and respect those people so much, and I wish I was more like them. I'm not saying sure. I'm cool for not giving a shit. No, I wish I was more of like a perfectionist and better at like pushing myself.
But I think there's a lot of people that are like that, and I think you're not really competing with anyone. You're just competing with yourself, really. So
Yeah.
your path. Can you walk us through how you were able to get your score from Arizona and then go through the licensing requirements in New Mexico?
Yeah, so I got the score. They just like send it to you, and then I think I googled UBE transfer to New Mexico, and looked up the New Mexico requirements, and that took some time. To be fair, I think I was like pretty busy at that time because I was doing a fellowship. And I think my family was trying to visit me a whole bunch, and so I didn't even get that ball rolling till because our results came out in October, and I didn't get the ball rolling on that till November.
Yeah.
And then I told Jag like, "Hey, I didn't pass Arizona, but I'm transferring my score instead of retaking it, and I'll probably go to the August 2020 school," which was something I was kind of thinking I had wanted to do anyways, because initially my fellowship was going to be for 6 months or like until I went to JAG school in January. But I was like, I really enjoyed it. And I had like the most amazing supervisors there and really cool experience. So I'm like, I should do this fellowship like longer because it's just a really cool experience. And then New Mexico definitely like took its time. And I think like I didn't have a bunch of stuff on my record, but I don't think I like was super diligent in filling out like the character and fitness to like perfectly get like every reference and stuff. So I think that made it take longer. But that all worked out for the best because if I would have gone to the JAG school in January or in March, those were like during their peak COVID, like new COVID times.
Oh yeah.
Set everything down.
The time that it takes, like even if you're gonna get licensed in the state that you took the bar in, it's not an overnight thing. Like I passed October and I still haven't gotten my materials for admission or whatever I have to do that's outstanding.
Have like some backup plans, have some income coming in from something. But like for me, I just had like a really good backup plan for if I didn't pass, maybe too good of one, because I think like when people they put the pressure on themselves, they like if it's they don't pass, they don't have a job or something, then they like make sure they do it. But I just don't operate like that, and I think if that's not you, that's fine. And so like have a fellowship or a clerkship lined up that you can do if you don't pass.
Yeah, that's a great message because the truth is that not everyone passes, and it's like I'm not saying that we were misled or anything, but a lot of times that we're just told like this is the way it is. You have to study hard, then pass it, and then do this. But there's a lot of people that don't make it on the first try, and we're not prepared. A lot of the guests we talk about how we just weren't prepared for the amount of time that it was going to take, and then our current jobs. Now we have to balance like, are we going to keep this job? Or are we going to study more and leave the job? Or can we balance it? I remember, like I said, you were in the library doing bar prep over the summer. What do you think you could have done better if you can point to something?
To be fair, I think I didn't have the focus that I should have had. So like I'm an audio learner and I just signed up for like the most, expensive classes because I'm like, if they're a good lecturer, I'll learn it. And then the thing that I did really wrong was I just like went through the motions of the program. Like I just clicked through the quizzes and was like, I'm good, but I think if I could have redone it or like gone back in time and told myself what to do differently, I would have just looked at the problems and like dissected them and dissected the answers and gone like more slowly that way. And then like the other thing I would do was, so I would like wake up and then I would go work out super hard and be exhausted. Then I would make like a big breakfast And then I would go to school, I'd get to school, and I'd like talk to some people. And then I'd open up my thing, do that for a little bit, and then I'd like get a phone call from my sister and talk to her for like an hour. And then I would be like, oh, now I'm hungry, and I'd go get lunch. And then, just like so much dinking around and like BS. Yeah, so they say you're supposed to put in like 8 hours of studying. I have no clue what I put in, but it was not close.
Right,
And then
right.
like I've always had really bad study habits. Like I said, if the teacher's a good lecturer, I learn it. And like if they're charismatic, it stays in my brain, and that's pretty much all I have to do. And I like reading, so I can do some of that. But like outlining, flashcards, all that stuff, I've never actually really done, except for kind of go through the motions of it. But
some people watching this are going to be so relieved, because I can say the same thing. We just have this sort of reputation as law students. Oh, they're probably so meticulously studious, and they, outlining is not my thing, and that type of studying, like for exams and stuff like that, it's never been a strong point of mine. Like I'm kind of one and the same with you. Like it depends on how the professor was. They lectured well, and I liked the material, then I did well. And then there were times where I put in so much effort studying and I didn't do well. But I think you made a great point there.
I'm not trying to sound like, oh, it's all on the teacher, it's their fault if I don't learn it. It's just like, I want better study habits, and I think I'm actually getting some better study habits overall. Like that was a good learning opportunity for me to be like, hey, I need to figure out what works for me a little bit better, so like I can do better next time.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go, actually, is that I think the presumption is that law students, especially law graduates, have already developed and fine-tuned what works best for them. But to be honest, and being someone that had to take the bar 3 times, I hadn't done that yet, and that made it more difficult for me. So I had to sort of learn the hard way, the expensive way of like something wasn't working for me, and trying to figure out what that was. That would have been awesome to figure it out in law school, but I really hadn't done it because I was getting by with doing what I was doing. And so it became really problematic when I took the bar, didn't pass, and I was like, well, I did the same program that so many people have done. Like, what the hell's wrong? Like, what's going on? And the same thing you were saying before, I was going through the motions. I was just trying to complete the program. I didn't have a fundamental understanding of the crucial topics. And that's where I kind of went wrong.
I would totally like take the bar again, and I actually want to, because I think one day I would want to become licensed in California too or something. So like I can transfer my score from New Mexico after like 3 years of practicing. I can transfer that to Arizona if I want to practice in Arizona. But I think it would be good for me to just take a bar exam again and try and, which maybe sounds dumb, but I just think that would be helpful.
I think it's a challenge that you also want to overcome.
For sure.
Because us military people, ex-military, for me, we like challenges. What program did you decide to go with as far as a commercial bar prep course?
I did Barbary, and it worked for most people who did it.
Yeah,
you had good scores, so I don't think it was the program at all. I think every program is just what you put into it. Maybe if I did it again, I would do Kaplan, or just something with less hours in it, because I think I need less hours, more focused hours. But I really don't think it was the program at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about my program. I did Themis, and a lot of people did Themis and did just fine. But it's how you use everything. I think I was just going through the motions and not building enough foundation. And the second and third time, I did a lot more practice. A lot of the things I skipped over, like the essays, I actually had to do the essays, and I learned a lot. That just kind of skimming the essays for an exam like this was not. That's what was my downfall. I had to actually take the time to do them.
My downfall was not the essays at all. Like, so for example, I think for contracts essays, I got like a 5 out of 6 or something, or like, and then for the contracts multiple choice, that was like my lowest score. So for me, it's purely the multiple choice.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Can you tell us about, when you finally got your license and you started working, what that was like?
It was crazy. So I got admitted to New Mexico bar. Like, they sent me my bar card, and it says admitted to practice 420.
Sweet. Perfect.
Yeah, it was the day after my birthday, so that was really cool. But that was like short-lived happiness, because maybe like 2 weeks after, on May 4th, my dad passed away.
Oh wow. So
that was like really shitty. So like the brief high I had was cut very short. But it all worked out, because like I still went to JAG in August, and it was a really good time to go, and I met tons of cool people.
What would you say to our students who are going to take the bar for the first time? And I'd say maybe a lot of them were like you and I. We weren't like a shoe-in to pass the bar, and we weren't like stellar straight A students in law school.
Honestly, I would say have a backup plan in case you need to take it twice. Like, if you're feeling at all unsure, you don't want to take it and then get the results and then be completely screwed if you don't pass. And just like, you have to be honest with yourself. If you think your chances are at like 25% of passing, just have a backup plan. The other thing I would say is focus on answering the questions and then like handwriting out the correct answers. Don't just be clicking through the program, because I can click through stuff on autopilot and just like not absorb anything. It's better to go through fewer questions and completely understand them. And then the other thing that I would advise is like, I did, kind of okay on most subjects, but like not quite enough to pass Arizona's. The people who passed Arizona's, some of them got like really high scores on evidence, and then like a really low score on property. So if you have a subject you're good at, max out that subject on the multiple choice. Like, if that's something you're interested in and you think you can do well on, go for it. Because I didn't do that, and I think I should have, and that might have brought up my scores overall.
No, that's a really good point, because like evidence was always my strongest subject. And property is like everyone's worst. But there came a point where I was like, if I just perfected evidence rather than trying to do well enough in property, I think it's going to turn in my favor, and it did. I was just like, I got from like 70 to like in the high 80s, sometimes in the 90s. I'm like, whatever, property's just going to suck.
Yeah.
If I elevate my evidence game and maybe some other subjects, it'll work out. It did.
Exactly. So pick the subjects that you're naturally better at, and don't waste a bunch of time hammering the subjects that you're just not going to get better at.
Yeah, because that does seem counterintuitive.
Yeah,
but it works, because it's a test of all of those things, and even if you're short on one, you can really get really good at the stuff that you're good at. So don't think like, oh, I'm good at this subject, so I'm not going to focus on it. I think the opposite is true. I think you should elevate that subject and your knowledge of it, so that will be your 100%, like your strong suit. And then you can have some room for error. If I think we all could use some of that.
Definitely. And that's like, so I've seen the score breakdowns of some people who passed the Arizona bar on the first time, and they did exactly that. Like, there were subjects they weren't as good at, and they were just like, F it. And then they focused on what they really liked and got like 90 something in what they liked, and then they passed.
I mean, let's see what my scores were, but it was good enough this time, which I can't believe, because the pass rate was so low.
That's so baller. Like,
I after failing it twice, like, you get so used to the disappointment that I didn't know how I would react, to be honest. But it's a great feeling. I was 100% ready to do what you did and just get licensed somewhere else, if I fell short, and then I could still work here, if it was a federal job. But like, to finally overcome that challenge that had been plaguing me for so long, it was great. But it also taught me a lot about what I needed to do as far as like studying and how to overcome those things. Because what I was trying to say when I lost my train of thought earlier, edit this part, is that so the bar study these days is self-study, right? You do it all yourself, all online, and that really wasn't the best thing for me. And I've heard this from a few other people too. I would rather like show up somewhere. Well, I mean, the convenience of it is great, but I think I benefit most when I'm accountable, when I have to show up somewhere at a certain time, and that all comes from the military. And then I have somebody there that is sort of like, I'm accountable to this person and I have to do a good job. And then there's all these people around me, and then I feel like I feel driven by the fact that I have to keep my head above water, or else I'm going to drown around all these people. But bar prep these days, because it's all gone to this self-study online model. It's just you. And then it's easy for people like me to just, it's not, and I never looked at it like, whatever, this is stupid, I don't really want to do it, or I didn't just give a half-ass effort to that regard. But I wasn't as driven as if it were not just a self-study program, if that makes sense.
It's tough. I mean, so like, I'm really happy you passed the Arizona bar, and you like, even if you're doing a federal position, that's like a really good feeling, and it's really awesome. But I also just like want to let people know they don't have to. Like, it's okay to pass in the easiest jurisdiction like I did, and then just because at the end of the day, no one cares where you passed if you're a licensed attorney and you just meet the requirements for your job. Like, in 5 years, no one will be like, what score did you get on the bar?
Yeah, not even in 1 year. I mean,
you might, but
nobody cares.
Yeah, I don't think anyone cares. And like, so like at JAG school, I was with, super smart people who went to really good schools and passed, really tough bar exams, but we were also all in the same place.
All getting paid the same.
Yeah, all getting paid the same, unless they were like a captain. But, it's just like, there's these kind of arbitrary goals or like accomplishments, and when you look at the context of your life and your career path, you have to be like, okay, is this something where I need to get like Alaska bar qualified on? Is that really worth like beating myself up over, or like burning myself out over, especially if you have an important job lined up for after, and like your work is going to be more important than whatever you score on the bar. And I mean, on the flip side, I think studying for the bar is really good training. It's really helpful to, have all that knowledge in your head, and it's a good learning lesson if you do push yourself really well. But I don't know, just like balance it out. Like,
for sure. So actually, there was one thing, so we're kind of going backwards. Did you ever feel during bar prep, when you were getting ready for the bar and studying, did you ever have days where you were like super burnt out, or that,
yeah, like... I felt super burned out during the bar exam. For some reason, my 3L year, it was like a rough year for me. I don't really know why, and I don't have a good reason for it for being a rough year. I think I just had like senioritis, and I was like super tired, and like my energy levels and like my emotional level were just like at lows. And like, again, I don't think I had a good reason for that, but I was just like that. So then when I was studying for the bar, I was very apathetic about it. I was super like burnt out feeling. I was more interested in working out because I think I was thinking like more far in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't like just super interested in the bar. But yeah, like I definitely had some days where I didn't study at all and I just like ate cookie dough and like, watched movies. I remember doing that like a couple times. And then I was like, why am I doing this? I haven't even studied very hard. But it's just,
Right.
but studying for the bar is just like a really lonely time. And
Super, yeah.
the other thing I think, like, I think when people have a job during bar study, or if they're like at home with family, I think that's can be helpful too, because I was completely alone in Arizona. And on the one hand, maybe I did better because I didn't have my family distracting me, or I didn't have a job distracting me. Like maybe if I did, I wouldn't have even passed the New Mexico bar. But I sometimes think it could have been helpful if I like had family there or a job, and then I had an allocated number of hours to study that I had to focus during.
Yeah.
When I was studying, it was just like, I have all day.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I was gonna come back with that, and you totally nailed it on the head. I think that was sort of, which it's a great thing to have all day and not have school or classes or anything else but bar prep. But it also it it can backfire in that it's sort of deceiving. Like, oh, I can do this later, or I have all day to do this, so just I'm just gonna take my time and do all of this stuff first. Because when you finally get to doing it, if you're not 100% focused, that notion of I have all day can backfire for sure. And you're not used to it because you're used to having all these obligations for school or work.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard both. I've heard a lot of people say I can't do bar prep and work at the same time. And then I've heard others say, well, I failed when I didn't work. And then when I had to do it at certain times, like outside of work on the weekends, that's when I finally passed. I think it makes sense because we're all different.
No, totally. And then to like, I kind of think for you and me, like, part of the reason I joined the military is because I like that structure, and I like, that situation where I have people who I'm accountable to, and if I don't do something at a certain level, then I'm going to be like, having a negative effect on my team. And then just like really structured hours and stuff. And you just have to know yourself and know like what kind of situations you thrive in and be honest with yourself. Because I think I wasn't really honest with myself about how studying would be, like what would be helpful for me.
One of the reasons I wanted to do the show is that there's a lot of people like us.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we kind of feel like alienated because we just assume that like everyone else is on this other level and we're just kind of like the outliers. But in talking to more students, now that I'm back in school and I get to talk to even more, there's so many of them that were like us, that kind of just felt like, man, I'm in this place where like it's like there's a sea of super smart people, and I'm like literally like just trying to keep my head above water, and I'm just the weird one.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. I mean, I mentioned this in one episode, and it's kind of funny. There's more people in the bottom 50% than there is in the top 10. So we're not that weird.
Yeah. The other thing is too is like, don't sell yourself short, because like I know, I'm not like a top 10% student, but if there's like one particular legal issue I'm interested in, then I like do a really good job on that issue.
For sure.
And the bar is hard, I think, for some people because it's so fucking boring. Like, and it's just like a general broad overview of all the topics, and a bunch of them you don't care about at all. So, and then you have like these mediocre lectures on your whatever review program that you paid a shit ton of money for. Like, it's just rough. So I don't know. I think people should like be nice to themselves and not beat themselves up. For me, if I'm doing something where I know the outcome actually tangibly affects a person other than myself, then I take it more seriously. Of course, like I do a good job. I think so. For example, I'm going into the Army. My next duty station is going to be Fort Hood. I really hope I get to do military justice there, which is like prosecution. And I know if I do that, I'll be super busy and the hours are crazy and I'll probably get burned out. But to me, that sounds like a worthwhile thing to get burned out on, because I've heard like once you do prosecution at Fort Hood, you are not scared of trial. Like just
Yeah.
because you have done so many. To me, that sounds like a valuable thing to really focus on and put in crazy hours to. Whereas like passing the bar, you know,
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
that's like an abstract accomplishment.
Yeah, it was weird because I think I was more disappointed when I didn't pass than I was like excited that I passed, because it was just like, whatever, dude, like it's finally done.
Yeah.
And now it's not, things haven't even moved because taking their time, you know, and I understand the circumstances, but it's like it's just the next thing, and now you have to do all these other things. Like, okay, I was the same guy that failed the bar. I just like developed these skills and paid all this freaking money, and now I've done the thing that they wanted me to do. But guess what? It's still the same guy, and I'm still gonna be me regardless.
It's though more of an interesting story of like someone who fails and then overcomes it versus someone who just like does everything cool first try.
Yeah, and also I think you learn lessons that help you down the line.
I'm not trying to like downplay, like I know I kept being like, oh, I only passed New Mexico, but like those are still hard requirements.
Yeah.
Like so many people don't make, you know, those jurisdictions.
Right.
I'm not trying to be like, it's easy, because that's,
yeah, you're not gonna make it without putting in an effort.
Yeah.
Well, Jessica, I definitely appreciate you coming on the show, taking the time. I know, you know, you're on leave right now, enjoying your time with your family, so I want to let you go so you can continue that. But, you know, I think I really wanted to have you on because I feel like a lot of students can relate to you. They're in school right now in a challenging time, and they're kind of over it, and they want to sort of know that there's definitely people out there feeling like how they felt, and we're still able to get their path forward and the job that they wanted with that focus, instead of just focusing on arbitrary things, as we talked about. So thanks for coming on.
Can I make a quick plug real quick?
Always. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think Army JAG is great for everyone, but so far I really like it. So if
I know it would be great for you.
Yeah, if you're like not sure what you want to do, just consider some of the different JAG opportunities, whether it's like Navy, Air Force, or Army or Marines. I think for me, I'm like a bigly athletic person and I want experience in all these different areas.
And you're adventurous.
Yeah, so JAG is a good fit, and I don't mind being told where to live. So
yeah, I joined the Army, and I was down to go wherever. I mean, we had conflicts.
Exactly.
We had conflicts, so I went to the war zones a lot. But at the same time, I walked away from 10 years. After 10 years, I realized that I had been to over 20 countries, all over the world, and even some places in the United States that I would have never gone to, like Oklahoma and Colorado, which I love. And I was like, wow, what an experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, amazing. So I'm happy for you. I'm excited for everything to come. So best of luck to you, and we'll be in touch.
Peace.
So the Bar Stories Project is out, guys. We'll see you in the next episode. Stay cool, stay safe.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Bar Stories Project's YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any new content. The Bar Stories Project is brought to you by creator and executive producer Chuck Bonazza, associate producer Patrick Ryan, original music by Justin St. John and Christian Savage. Join us next time on the Bar Stories Project.